Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining in. This side, Rahul Magan here as a Chief Executive Officer of Treasury Consulting LLP. And today we're going to speak about another interesting topic on our YouTube video, which is Chinese Yuan, SDR incursion, an opportunity or a threat. Now, as you very well understand that a lot of talks has been happening about Chinese Yuan also because they are going to be the part of SDR effective 1st October. And today is 13th of September. So roughly 17-18 days to go for Chinese Yuan. This is going to be very important for Chinese Yuan to be a part of SDR because once the part of SDR, they would be termed as an official currency of the globe. And there are a lot of actions which has been happened by the regulators in China, and they did an extremely wonderful job in the last 5-6 months, making sure that Chinese economy is should be stabilized, and at the same time currency should not depreciate it. In fact, when this announcement has happened roughly in May, the Chinese foreign exchange reserve was approximately $4.2 trillion, which is now roughly $3.2 trillion. The difference of the $1 trillion has been on account of they used to fix to control the fixing of the Chinese yuan, because Chinese yuan is acting as an official Chinese yuan is sitting as an NDF currency, non-deliverable forward currency, next to 7 or 8 currencies across the globe. So what had happened in the last sitting today, if you look at the SDR basket, this would be like this. Dollar is 41.73, yuan 10.92, yen 8.33, pound 8.09, euro 30.93. If you collectively add, this approximately will equals to 100%. This is what the yuan basket. So let me repeat. You have the US dollar 41.73, yuan 10.92, yen 8.33, pound 8.09, euro 30.93. Now a lot of action which is happening on the SDR front. Example as below. Yuan incursion sitting today, 285 billion of the SDR is allocated to the members. Now as of today, which is 13 September, approximately $285 billion of the SDR has been allocated to the members. Out of this, yuan would be approximately $31 billion. So China would get the SDR. China would get the SDR of approximately $31 billion, which is a very big amount for China. Singapore and the best central bank across the globe, Monetary Authority of Singapore, clearly said that they are adding yuan denominated assets in their official reserves. And you very well understand that Singapore is acting as a global financial center of the globe. And if Singapore is adding yuan denominated assets in the book, it effectively means that yuan is rising. Yuan is rising, and we should not forget that sitting today, Chinese Central Bank, People Bank of China, did almost 25 international cross-currency swap with respective central banks across the globe. And London is currently acting as a yuan denominated center. London, Dubai, Luxembourg, Frankfurt, Singapore, and a lot of others, they are acting as a yuan denominated centers. As per the research, sitting today, the total FX reserve stands approximately 11 trillion, and yuan would be covering roughly 4%, which is 400 billion, anywhere between 400 to 500 billion dollars, which is a huge amount. I understand that out of $11 trillion of the FX reserve, if you occupy only 4 to 5%, then this is not a very handsome amount of money. But at least you should try and appreciate the fact that over the period yuan would grow, because in Asia there is only one currency who is in the SDR, which is Chinese yuan. I am assuming Japanese are in the Asia Pacific. And with this, China will not only be second largest economy of the world, their currency would be an official reserve currency of the world. They are number one in the PPP terms when it comes to the GDP of the country. Chinese global investors are inching towards global bond investors are inching towards Chinese yuan denominated debt. We all know, because of course China is also one of the carry currency of the world. It's not that China is having a negative interest rate policy. They have a very good positive interest rate policy, and not to mention Chinese inflation is stagnant from the last several years, roughly 2.3%. It is unlike India, which saying that the inflation is inching down. Unfortunately, this is inching up based upon the false data or your base effect. And sitting today, more than $20 trillion of the variety of Japanese and the European bonds is in NIRP, NIRP stands for negative interest rate policy, which is also a cause of concern. Chinese interbank bond market, CIBM, is the third largest interbank markets across the globe. The first largest is the US, then you have Tokyo, and then you have China. This is because of funding carry. This is because of investment carry. And they are not the funding carry, they must be investment carry. That is, China is the third largest interbank bond market across the globe, which is an achievement in himself. Last but not the least, Chinese opened CIBM, Chinese interbank bond market, for foreign investors, central banks, institutional investors, for everyone. There are a lot of positivism which is happening for China. China is doing very well. They are the second largest economy of the globe. They are growing at the rate of roughly 7%. I know there are a lot of negative talk which is happening about China. There are a lot of people which saying that China should have grown at the rate of 8.5%. But answer to those people is that if an economy which is approximately $13 trillion of GDP is growing at the rate of 7%, is much better than US economy, which is $15 trillion of the GDP is growing at the rate of 2%. So this is much better than. And I'm not wrong, I read the research report of an international bank which suggested that I think per year China growth is approximately several countries of the Europe. So the total accumulation of the GDP which China is doing per year is several countries of the Europe. So China is anyway doing very well. Every country would have its own problem. There is no doubt. There is not a single country who don't have its problem. So as the China. But at least we should appreciate the fact that regulators are trying very hard. They are trying to mitigate the effects and they are working extremely hard in that regards. Yes, there are few issues also when it comes to China. Example, we heard on the several media channels that people are talking about flight to quality, bond defaults and rising NPA. Flight to quality is a phenomenon when once you leave a country because of several reasons. It could be negative interest rate policy, it could be the political environment, it could be the geographical environment, it could be the crash of the financial markets, it could be yours, I would say a huge amount of non-performing asset, it could be the regulators are worthless. So flight to quality could be happen. But yes, there are a lot of talks which is happening about flight to quality, but not very much pertaining to Chinese yuan. Bond defaults is something which China need to take care of. There are a lot of defaults which is happening, so they need to be very particular about exactly why it is happening and so on and so forth. And not to mention the rising non-performing assets. So non-performing assets and the bond default is the concern which PBOC, People Bank of China, Government of China, and which is PRC, I'll shortly refer this as PRC, People Republic China, and regulators need to take care of. After all, things moving in a very nice way for China, and I'm sure that 1st October 2016, when Chinese yuan turn out to be the part of SDR, they would get a lot of value. And I know the kind of regulators China is, they are going to strive very hard for the business, and they are the one who don't wait for policies, procedures, because they strongly believe in business at the speed of thought. So we give best wishes to Chinese yuan to be a part of the SDR, and hope they do very well for the across the globe and make sure that the dynamics of the fixed income market would change. Nonetheless, this was all about for today when we talked about the SDR, an opportunity for Chinese yuan or a threat. You're welcome to email us at treasuryconsultingllp@gmail.com. Our alternate email ID is rahulmagan8@gmail.com. My mobile number is 9899242978 and my Skype connect is rahul5327. We thank you for your support and we would continue to bring a lot of fresh videos for you. Have a good luck.